are in a certain place, Zeeshan, right? Some people may go ahead and say, hey, this is chance, this is luck, this is hard work, right? Whatever it is. How would you describe your journey?
Okay, fine. I think my opinion on this particular aspect has changed and has evolved over the
Hmm,
last 1 to 2 years.
hmm.
When I was an 18, 19-year-old, I thought, you know how 18, 19-year-olds are, right? They have no context to the world. They think, they can go out there and do anything in the world.
Correct.
And I had that kind of an attitude where I believe that if there's something I wish to achieve, I would go out there and figure my way out, and it is all under my control. The only
Hmm,
thing that matters is me. The only thing that matters is whether if I'm able to make it there or not will be my capabilities and my maybe my skill set as an entrepreneur, right?
hmm,
But over the last few years, after maturing, I've realized that it's not only about your skill sets, it's not only about your ability. There's so
hmm,
many more factors that come in. There
hmm,
is a little bit of factor of luck, there's a little bit of factor of faith, there's a little bit of factor of your skill set, as well
hmm.
as more importantly, your leadership capacity,
Very
right?
good.
So you might have amazing skills,
Hmm,
but if you don't have a great leadership capacity,
hmm,
the effectiveness of your skills or the effectiveness of the work that you're doing is fairly very limited, right?
hmm.
So these are the things that I learned, and I realized that it's a little bit of everything. It's not just about faith, luck, attitude, or skill set. It's everything plays a part in it, and people may say whatever they they want to, but
Depending upon where they are, they will have their own
yeah,
interpretation.
yeah,
No, no, I love your energy, Zishan. Right? Let me put it another way, right? So you have this great idea, but then you have to create followership. That means people have to get bought in into your idea. How have
yeah.
you done that, Zishan?
Okay, so the idea that we are trying to work on, right,
Hmm,
is a problem that majority of students of my generation and even the generation today face. I'll
hmm,
tell you the story of MyCaptain and why is it that we started MyCaptain. And in fact, I'll even talk about how did I get my first team.
hmm,
So there was this conversation a couple of my friends and I were having in a hostel room a night before our exams, right? And you all know what happens in a hostel room a night before the exam. You're just
we'll ignore the
but
bottles and everything else, but we'll talk about.
so, so you talk about everything under the sun except for trying to study for the next day's paper. So we're
Correct.
spending some time on YouTube, we're going through some random videos on Facebook, and eventually we started talking. And through the course of the discussion, we started talking about what career is it that we actually wanted to pursue. We're
Hmm,
all stuck in engineering. We're all stuck in one very dingy hostel in a university in Chennai, and all three of us were like, okay, what is it that we actually wanted to pursue if
hmm,
not engineering? And my friend over there said that, what, I wanted to become tech blogger. The
hmm,
other person said that he wanted to become a journalist,
hmm,
and I said that I wanted to become an astronomer. And
hmm.
it struck us that three people from three different parts of the country, passionate about three completely different things, were studying engineering, a subject that we are absolutely not passionate about. And we realized that this particular problem was not just faced by the three of us, it
Hmm.
was faced by our entire generation. So any person
Wow.
who wanted to become, let's say, a filmmaker, a photographer, a stand-up comedian, a sports journalist,
Correct.
or anything of that nature was absolutely confused about how do they take their first step into these fields. And
Hmm,
this is where we decided, what, there needs to be some organization or
hmm,
someone who comes in and creates this societal mindset shift
hmm,
around how careers are looked at in India.
hmm,
And this was the main the idea behind
hmm,
starting my venture. So it
hmm,
was fairly very easy for me to get people enrolled into my vision and
hmm,
enrolled into what we are trying to create, because everybody around me was facing that problem. So we were able to relate to that very well.
hmm,
And we it all was about telling the story. It
hmm,
was all about making people understand the problem that we faced and make them relate to the problem that probably even they are facing at the moment. So it was fairly very easy for us to get the first followership, and we had a humongous number of people and students who were like, I wanted to become a writer, I wanted to become a photographer, I love filmmaking, but I'm stuck in BBA, BCom, engineering, law. So it was fairly easy to get all of them on board because they faced the problem. They believed in the vision of what we were trying to create, and they just came on board. There was no aspect of money. There's no aspect of how much time do I need to put in. There's no aspect of what am I going to get out of it. It was purely the vision, the movement, the kind of world that we imagined that we wanted to create. And that's what got all of these 18, 19, 20 year olds to come on board and work and just enroll themselves in it.
Absolutely. So, which means it's a good idea. Sometimes we call it hidden in plain sight, right? It's there.
I think every idea, especially when it comes to entrepreneurship, idea is fine, right? You have thousands and 10,000 ideas that can come into your head. But is your thought or is your product idea, is your solution actually creating some kind of a change? Is it actually solving problems of people? Is it creating some kind of a positive change in the world? Only these ideas can then eventually turn into sustainable businesses and organizations, if not businesses. And that is the key, right? So idea is fine, but you have to be able to very clearly break it down. If this is my idea, what problem is my idea trying to solve? Right? And if you're not able to get that answer right, and you don't see that, if there are not enough number of people who face that problem, or the problem doesn't really exist, then you might want to go and rethink about your ideas. The other thing about ideas is that there can be great ideas, there can be great problems that you wish to solve, but if you don't do anything physical with it, especially in the first 10, 15, 20 seconds of that idea coming into your head, then I can guarantee you'll never be working on that idea. So whenever you have these great ideas coming in, the best thing I would suggest is go down, jot it down on in a diary, or maybe pick up the phone and call up your best friend or whoever you think you can discuss this particular problem or idea with, and do something physical with it, right? So that's just something, because we started talking about ideas, I thought I would just jump in and talk about it.
Yeah. No. So the fact is, there's somebody who told me an idea without execution is hallucination, right?
That's true.
Correct. Now, it looks like, you got this idea, you immediately swung into action, Zeeshan.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Now, it's great to get ideas. It's a different thing to scale it. What did you learn about scale, Zeeshan?
Okay, I think scale comes much, much, much later. Right. So that's when you have a lot of your business metrics right, and then you wish to scale. But once you get an idea, the first thing that you do, first physical thing that you do, and is to jump in and start working on your idea. And by working on your idea, try to be very frugal. Try to go out there and build the most, what we call as the most minimum viable product, right? The most basic version of the product that you can think of. Just Google how Flipkart looked when it launched. Just Google how WhatsApp was, how Facebook was, how all of these companies were, and you would be like, what the hell is this, right? How did they even launch with a product like this or a website like this? And there's this really cool saying by the founder of LinkedIn, and he says that if you're not embarrassed by the first version of the product that you have launched, then you have launched way too late. So even before we talk about scaling, the next step of the idea is to put it into action, put it into a prototype, put it into what we call as a minimum viable product, get it into the market as soon as possible, even if it means that people might not like your product, even if it means that customers will hate you, right? But it's very important to get even your customers to hate you, because then you get the real feedback. You get what is it that is needed in the market right from the mouth of the customer, right? And that is all. And customer is always right. They are the ones who will tell you what is it that they want and what is it that that needs to be built. So before we even talk about scale, it's about making the MVP, getting
Mm,
into the market, getting your first 100, 200 customers, taking feedback from them, and
mm,
finally building, things according to the feedback that you have gotten from the customers.
mm,
Then you reach out, to, let's say, your next 1,000, 2,000 customers. You raise a little bit of funding or however you want to go ahead with that. And eventually, when you reach the mark, if especially if you're a B2C company of 2,000 paid customers, is when you can start saying that, hey, now I'm ready to scale.
mm.
Whatever I've built makes sense. There are 2,000 people out there using my product, buying my product, so on and so forth, right? So there, you need to reach a particular level before you
Mm,
can get ready for scale.
mm.
And you reach that by getting into building an MVP and go to market and so on and so forth.
Very nice. Very nice. And what role has technology played, Zishan?
Um, okay, so when we started the organization, we were a magazine, right? So we were a bunch of
Seriously?
writers, yeah, and we
Ah.
were a, and we were a print magazine, right? In 2016. Now
Mm,
we were very passionate about writing, and we were very passionate about physical paper and books, and we had this very romantic idea of running a publication, right? And we were very romantically attached to that idea. So we're like, we'll never get into online content. We'll never make an e-magazine. All that is, that's not real,
mm,
right? And we were in this very cute little bubble of our own. And, we started off as a magazine. For 1.5 years, we worked on it, and it was a complete disaster. Despite the fact that the content was amazing, nobody in the world today wants to subscribe to a magazine, right? And we made terrible amount of losses with it.
mm,
And similarly, we went ahead and did a couple of other things, and we started doing workshops in schools and colleges. And while it was loved a lot,
mm,
what we realized was you cannot scale this, right? If I have to deliver 100 workshops in a single day across India, that's not possible if it is physical. So if you want
mm,
to really build scalable businesses in today's age, uh, ideally they are tech enabled. Anything
mm,
that you build is technologically driven and is technologically scaled,
mm,
right? So that is when around in 2017 18 is when we started talking to a few of our mentors. One of them was the chairman of the Hindu group,
very nice.
Mr. N Ram. The other
Mm,
one was Viru, of course. The
mm,
few others were from IIM Bangalore, where we were incubated. And we realized that all of them were telling us move away from print and on ground things and
mm,
actually launch something which is online and scalable.
mm,
So that requires technology. Technology is going to get you to a million, 2 million, 100 million people. Whereas if you build physical products, that's fairly very, very, very slow and difficult to scale. And if
mm.
you want, if you have time, I can even tell a little story,
Mm.
and
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
it will
Yeah,
interest
yeah.
the.
That'll be interesting actually, because I mean that is where the learning is, right?
So I hope all of the learners or all of the listeners over here are familiar with this group of hotels called the Hilton Group,
Mm,
right? So the Hilton Group is this luxury group of hotels. It is 110, 120 years old. It is present in 110 different countries and owns all the luxurious properties in the world,
mm,
right? And then there's this another very interesting company which is called Airbnb, right?
mm,
Airbnb is around 8 to 10 years old. It's a platform where anyone who has an extra room can put their room on rent for temporary basis. And surprisingly, even Airbnb, just being 10 years old, is present in 120 plus different countries. Now,
mm,
if you think about it, if you see in a logical way, you would expect that Hilton makes much more money. Hilton is much more valuable. It is the most valuable brand in the world when it comes to hospitality. But if you compare the Hilton Group's net worth
mm,
with Airbnb, Hilton being a 110-year-old company owning all the properties in the world, versus Airbnb, which doesn't own anything in the world, it's
mm,
just a website, it's just a platform, you'll realize that Airbnb is worth 5 times more than the Hilton Group.
mm,
And that is the power of technology, that if Airbnb wants to launch in any new country, it has to click one single button.
Mm.
But if a Hilton group needs to be launching in some other country, they have to build the entire property, invest hundreds of crores, and so on and so forth. So that's how it is. In fact, the net worth of the New York Times is around 900, $950 million,
Mm.
whereas the net worth of Instagram, when it was sold to Facebook a few years ago, was $1 billion.
Mm.
You have people who have won the Nobel Prize writing for the New York Times, and
Correct.
you have people just taking selfies and food pictures, etc., etc., on Instagram, right? So that just speaks volumes about technology and how
Absolutely.
scalable it is, and why tech-enabled startups are able to, do better in the world.
That's the future, isn't it, Zishan?
It's what it is right now. It's exactly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So one area is technology, Zishan. The second area is money. What have you learned about money?
Oh, I'm still trying to figure that out. As we speak, we're in the middle of a fundraise, right? And before that, very interestingly, MyCaptain has scaled profitably and being bootstrapped. So till
Mm.
now, while we have reached the kind of numbers that we have reached, the kind of students, the number of students that we have reached, we are amongst the top 10 edtech companies in the country when it comes to paid user base.
Mm.
And despite reaching this stage, we have been completely bootstrapped and we have not raised any kind of external funding. So while it's great to build profitable and sustainable ventures,
Mm.
what I've realized is that if you need to scale and if
Mm.
you need to really create a brand out there, you need to raise money and you need
Mm.
to go out there and spend that money in marketing and advertising and creating a brand. Because
Mm.
if you don't do that, a competitor will come in, raise 100 times more than the money that you have, and despite having a superior product or a better offering or anything, it won't matter. So if
Mm.
you're running tech startups, especially in the consumer space, while you build a great sustainable structure, you have great unit economics, you will need to go out there, raise a lot of money. You will definitely need to invest a lot of money in building your brand and then capturing that particular space as the first choice partner or a
Mm.
first choice company to go to in that space. So that's very a funding related question, because my mindset, my mind right now is just in the middle of a fundraiser. So that's what comes out when I'm talking about it. But yeah, I'm just learning a lot about it. I think whatever you learn in your initial years, you completely need to forget it and relearn and
Mm.
keep that as you progress further and further and achieve better scale.
Very nice. Very nice. So it's all about learning as you go along, right? The rules that you knew in college is no longer valid right now.
Learning and unlearning, depending on the stage
Mm.
of life you're in or the stage of your venture that you're in. What is needed in an early stage venture is very different from a late stage venture compared to a mid scale company, right? So
Correct.
it's completely opposite, right? So
Mm.
yeah.
Very nice. Let's talk about the last pillar, which is basically about people, Zishan. Right? How are
Yeah.
you choosing the right people to be with you? Because I'm hoping that there is some level of hunger, entrepreneurship, all of that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
how are you choosing the right people, Zishan?
I think at least at the top leadership level, where where there's a team involved directly working with me, even the senior management or the team leadership level, what we have seen is that what's extremely important for anybody to come on board in a company like us is whether they are able to relate to the vision that my
Mm.
captain has, right?
Mm.
And it's because it's very rebellious, it's very different from all the other education technology companies out there. While all of them are helping people get better marks, crack entrance examinations, get a job, my captain is more focused towards helping you discover your inner calling. What is it that you're
Mm.
passionate about, and helping you actually pursue your passion as a career. The vision that my captain has is to enable every human to pursue a career that they love, right?
Mm.
So it's fairly very important for the senior leadership as well as the mid-level management, any person joining here, to relate to this vision, to understand that even if they are coming from other edtech companies, the culture, the communication, the brand values, the organization values are very, very, very different, right?
Mm,
So it's a little bit about the culture fit. It's a little bit about whether you're able to relate to the vision, whether you have faced the problem,
mm,
especially people who face the problem that we're trying to solve, do much better and are much more connected towards the organization. So these three things, and yeah, after that is the skill, right?
mm,
So what we believe is that while at the most senior level of leadership, you definitely need people with a lot of experience, a lot of skill. But as you go down in the hierarchy, you'll realize that more than skills, it's the attitude, it's
mm,
the culture
mm.
fit part of it, and all of that is more important. And
Mm.
skills will always be learned. If you have people who have been there and done that, they will always mentor you and help you build the skills. But you need to have that ability to reciprocate and go out there and bug their head and not leave them till the time you don't learn those required skills to do better at your role. So these are a few things that we see: hunger, yes; ambition, yes; being able to persevere through all the problems that come in, especially if you're in a startup ecosystem. That's something that we definitely touch base on and talk about.
Very nice. Very nice. One last question for you, Zishan.
Sure.
I see a lot of energy,
Okay.
right? Ve-
Oh, I haven't had my lunch as well. So
Look at
I'm glad.
that. So, which means this is an appropriate question. How do you sustain that energy, Zishan?
It's difficult, and I won't say that running a startup doesn't have a massive toll on your mental health. It
Mm,
does, right?
mm,
And it's everybody knows. If you're a founder, if you're an entrepreneur, the journey is lonely. No matter how many co-founders you might have, no matter how big a team you might have, you because you are end responsible for your entire team, and
mm,
their priority comes first. Everything, they are the first priority. It definitely does become a lonely journey, and that is something that every entrepreneur is going to tell you. It's very difficult to manage work-life balance
mm,
because there is no disassociation between your personal identity and your professional identity. You take entrepreneurship so personally that your company becomes you, right?
mm,
And that creates a lot of, over time, will create a lot of issues in when it comes to work-life balance, as well as your mental health, as well as your physical health, and so on and so forth. So it's fairly difficult, and it's something that I'm trying to work on myself. I'm trying to make sure that I am living a healthier life. I'm
mm,
sleeping early. I'm not working at home as soon as I come back from office. So these are things that you eventually develop. But in your earlier years, you might not even have the luxury to do these things. In your
mm,
earlier years, you will be hustling. You will be doing whatever is possible to get your venture up and running. It's only after you have a good team that you will be able to focus on the other things. So it's difficult. Yeah, it's a very very difficult journey. It's a very lonely journey. It has so many challenges, but at the end of the day, you're going on and on and on because there is clear impact that you see of the work that you're
mm,
creating,
mm,
and that's what gets you through the day. That's what gets you through all the challenges, the ups and downs. And yeah, you know that you're the captain of the ship, so you need to
mm.
keep sailing and driving things forward.
Yeah, the captain can't be weak, can he? Very
Uh,
nice. Very nice. Allow me to say thanks for your time, Zishan. This has been valuable, right?
Thank you
And in
so
fact, I
much.
mean,
Yeah.
had we had more time, I could keep on asking you questions. But the fact is, allow me to say our very best wishes to you, Zishan,
Thank
right?
you so
I
much.
mean,
Yeah.
you're on a wonderful journey. You have age on your side, right? And there is lots of possibility. So you have our very best wishes. We look forward to staying connected. Let's see
Definitely.
how much more you could go ahead and achieve, how much more we could go ahead and work together as well.
Thank you so much for the lovely conversation. Really enjoyed it. I had a very long week,
Mm.
and having this conversation right in the middle of the week kind of already has refreshed my brain, and I'm looking forward to go back and start go back into my work again. So thank you so much, Venkat. Had a lovely time interacting and chatting with you, and see you soon. Yeah, all the best.
Absolutely. Pleasure. Take care.